They say that one can go mad from trying to make sense of the world beyond the shallows and the reefs. They say that it's almost impossible to come back whole again, should one breach the barrier that separates the world of the water from the world of the air. They say that dreaming too hard about breaching Alway, the point where the water ends and the air begins, can lead one to make foolish decisions, leading to an equally foolish end. Many a spawn and youngling can tell you about this innate feeling of curiosity for what lay beyond, but an equal number can tell you that just lifting your fin through the Alway will cause your whole body to go limp with the dread of lifelessness. Because what air does to your skin is worse than any burn from a thermal vent and more malicious than the bite of a predator. It's insidious, drying you out and leaving you deformed. Your mucous membrane never really recovers, the soft skin underneath drying up for good, becoming nothing but a deformed mass that clings to you like a barnacle. Some of the more daring and foolish still bear the scars from the air. You can see it in how their fins are wrinkled beyond their years. You can see it in how it refuses to bend and flex in the currents. You can see it in their eyes, how it hurts to move, bend, or even touch it. But Billary, you claim that you've seen creatures from beyond the Alway. You claim that they don't need the life-giving embrace of the waters to survive. You claim they actually breathe the air. How can you tell us one story but be supporting another? How can we believe your encounter is real if you're telling us the air beyond the Alway is truly that dangerous? Perhaps it is best that we begin by describing the events that led up to that fateful encounter. It was the dawn of a new hunting season. I knew this because the schools of fish that had been dwindling just a season ago were returning to full strength. Alongside this came the reintroduction of the alphas and betas of these schools, large apex predators that had led the schools with an iron maw. Most of the fish you might see in your dinner kelp wraps at night may be small, but the alphas of their schools, they're the size of the great sharks, with a viciousness unmatched even by the greatest of the predatory hunter eels. It takes a whole hunting pack equipped with obsidian spears to get the upper hand, but once they're defeated, the entire school becomes helpless and scatters in disarray. This proves to be a problem, because once a school scatters, there's no reforming the group, at which point you've just invited every other reef predator for a free meal. The trick, however, is to make sure you don't leave the whole school leaderless when both the alpha and beta are killed. So one hunter is designated as the new school leader for the duration of the hunting season. It's done so that we can slowly harvest the school instead of killing them all and letting most rot and waste away. It's a rotational thing, so we aren't just completely isolated from the tribe for months on end. And it was during one of these rotations that I saw the creature from beyond the Alway. It was during the middle of my rotation, 3 days in, and no incidents to speak of. No feisty predators, no change in water currents, nothing. I'd let my guard down because of the sheer stillness and calmness of the waters. I'll be honest about that. What happened next was something that no hunter, regardless of their experience or preparation, could ever be ready for. I saw something in the far distance, a strange oval protrusion that propelled itself through the Alway. It was approaching me at speeds that I never even knew was possible, and it did so with these strange rotating blades that agitated and caused a rippling effect through the water. My ultrasonics were soon overwhelmed as the school that followed me dispersed, due to the sheer disorientation this thing was causing. I could do nothing as it approached. My entire body seized and refused to respond to my primal instincts, to swim away, to get as far away as possible from that thing. The next thing I knew, I'd been ensnared in some strange fiber-like weave. It was dense enough that I could not penetrate it, not even with my obsidian blade. But it was hollow enough that I could see through, and what I saw made me give my all to escape. I saw the dreaded line of Alway, and in that split second I could see where our world ended and where their world began. This was when I saw beyond our waters for the first time. This is where I felt the air on my skin for the first time. This is where I saw the sun for the first time, unfiltered and unimpeded by the protection of the waters. It shone so brightly, brighter than any magma vent or luminescent jelly. But before I felt the burning of the air, I felt a massive thud, followed by a sudden lurching. As I was dropped back into the waters, the strange fiber seeming to fall apart at the seams as I turned back to see the strange oval thing, glowing brighter than the sun itself, as pieces of it broke apart, sinking into the waters below. It was only then that I noticed another strange oblong shape approaching the now dead one that I assumed had tried to eat me. I could not really comprehend what was going on, for I could only figure out the vague shapes above the Alway as they seemed to move to and fro. Smaller creatures exited from the larger oblong creature to enter the dead one, feeding off of it, before dragging it off, perhaps to secure it for its pod. Moments later, I felt another massive thud, as the dead creature seemed to careen back to life, only to ram into the predator that had seemingly killed it, causing both now to go silent. The strange, otherworldly hum died off, leaving the water dead and silent. Those strange metal blades stopped entirely, as both creatures seemed to now share the same fate. Contrary to what most might assume, I did not feel the need to leave just yet, as my curiosity, the same curiosity I'd been taught to suppress, came back with a fury. I spent hours there that day, staring, gazing at the two oblong creatures, as the smaller creatures jumped across the two dead predators sporadically. Their movements above the water made me wonder what they could be, what they looked like, and how they could breathe above the alway. Yet those thoughts swiftly faded into the background as I saw something truly bizarre happen to one of the dead predators. From what I could see, one simply vanished. It was removed from the alway, ascending upwards, as if floating into the air without any effort. Were these creatures truly capable of swimming in the air? Was I in a state of delusion? Questions about my sanity would continue for a while until suddenly I felt a splash. Something had fallen and breached the alway, a creature far smaller than the two oblong ones. A creature my size. It had fallen just as the second oblong creature had vanished from existence, and to my shock, I saw that it lacked a proper tail, and in place of a single tail weren't tentacles or webbing, but instead two long, disproportionately shaped things. They kicked in the water haphazardly, as if trying to kick it to stay above the alway. In my panic and reacting according to my teachings, I swam to save it. I tugged on its abdomen and began dragging it down beneath the alway. This is where I finally got a good look at it. Its long torso, its two upper arms similar to our own, but lacking webbing. Its 5 fingers that once again lacked webbing, and of course, its face that looked as if some poor soul had rammed it against a large flat rock. It looked misshapen. A small protrusion from its face with 2 holes mimicked our noses, but it didn't really look right. Its eyes, however, well, instead of the relief I expected, it stared at me with a gaze of unbridled fear. I knew that look. You can never mistake it after joining the hunting pod. It kicked at me, thrashed hard, trying to get me to let go. It attempted to speak, but all I could hear was gibberish. Eventually, I was forced to let it go as a firm kick to my face made me lose my grip. Soon enough, it was back on the surface. And it didn't die. A strange light glowed from its right arm, which I noticed now was covered with a strange cloth like the rest of its body. Indeed, half of its upper torso seemed to be inflated, which explained why I had such a hard time getting it to enter the water with me. I don't know what got into me, but I refused to leave its side. Throughout the night I saw as the light on its wrist grew brighter and brighter, seeming to change in shade as time went on. I warded off predators as they attempted to eat this tasty morsel of a creature. I warded off those of other tribes that seemed to be too interested for their own good. Perhaps, strangest of all, once its strange inflation bladder popped, it began to sink again. I knew from observing it that it probably couldn't survive under the alway, an alien concept, but what would you expect from an actual alien? I knew it could not kick the water for long if it wanted to survive, so I went underneath it, and helped it float above the alway. I sat there allowing the being to ride on my shoulders as it seemed to calm down after a while. A few hours in, I felt its hand gripping my head, stroking it every so often, as if it were a means of gratitude. I didn't appreciate this, but it felt strangely satisfying, so I didn't object. After what I believed was 2 whole days, the being began tugging at my frills, as I slapped its hand away in annoyance. It seemed to point at something I could barely make out from beneath the surface of the alway. What I could see was an otherworldly creature of gray and black, causing the alway to ripple and shudder at its presence. Perhaps that thing was its mother. Regardless, that was where my adventures with the strange creature ended. It put its head under the water for me, and attempted to smile. I took it as a thanks of sorts, and attempted to wave at it, as it floated into the air, the sky, and perhaps into the larger creature above. Throughout all of it, I asked myself, why? Why was I losing sleep, risking life and limb for this creature? A creature that seemed so lost, so pathetic, so stupid. Well, perhaps that's exactly why. It was lost, scared, and didn't know what it was doing. Like one of their tribe's spawn, she was sworn to protect. That's the last I saw of it, but that wasn't the end of the story. For the past few seasons, all of you must have noticed the massive structure that appeared out of nowhere overnight. It's a large tube the size of an entire village that reaches deep beneath the dark zone and reaches all the way up to the sky. For seasons now, everyone has been questioning its purpose, its origin. And while I do not know its purpose, I certainly am confident of its origins. Today, a large light has gathered the attention of most of the tribes in the region, including our own. We gathered around it, and waited there for hours, and I heard the same sound from that first encounter. The deafening ultrasonics that seemed to bother everyone else, but not me. A light soon blinded all of us. A deafening ultrasonic screech deafened us next. But strangely and unexpectedly, it died down just as soon as it happened. What appeared in front of us was a glowing creature. The same creature from all those seasons ago. Denizens of the deep, greetings from humanity. We mean you no harm. There have been many misunderstandings over the last few years over the nature of our existence, and I am here on behalf of my people to clarify these matters, as is our moral and legal responsibility. 22 years ago, several of your people were abducted by a dangerous and malevolent race called the HFY. Their intent was to kidnap your people for study, collection, and slavery, in addition to colonizing and terraforming this world into another desert waste. To put it simply, they planned to drain your world of its water, and to eventually expose all of the life around you to the deadly air above. This caused many amongst the crowd to shudder in a cacophony of ultrasonics, though the whines were silenced by the aliens' continued speech. However, this threat has been eliminated, the alien spoke with confidence, and with a severity that sliced through the water around them like obsidian through blubber. Just as there is a barrier between your water and air, so too is there a barrier between the air and the skies above. And in those skies, my people are at war with the Itohani. It is a war we are winning, and in doing so, our influence is quickly expanding across the stars, into worlds similar to your own. However, our influence is not one that will be felt. It is a reassurance that you and the rest of your kin can carry on with your lives uninterrupted. The great structure you see here is both a beacon and a weapon. It is a beacon to help my people come to your aid should another threat arise. It is, however, also a weapon to help us fight our enemies should they wish to do you harm. It will not be used to interfere with your affairs. It will not be used as a symbol of our power and might. It is simply a guarantee that your people may exist and live in peace. Your people deserve that. Your people deserve the peace of mind of an uninterrupted existence. I know your people are good because of a certain fish that saved me 22 years ago. There were some misunderstandings at first, because you, yes, you, wherever you are, tried to drown me. He would soon chuckle after that statement. But I'm glad you came to your senses and allowed me to float back up. Now, beyond that, you stuck with me for 48 full hours. I was a sitting duck, and you saved me from 4 sharks and God knows what else. You looked after me, night and day, and when my life vest deflated, you were there to prop me up. Now that was awkward, sure, but you saved me from exhaustion. I'm sure you know who you are. I'm sure only one of you could have possibly had this experience. So now, please step forward. And so I did. Oh, hello. Nice to see you in the, scale. I am sorry I tried to drown you. It must have been a very unpleasant experience, if I am to guess. Quite. Humans can't breathe underwater after all. Of course. A silence blanketed the entire scene. Right. So, I would like to award you with this. A strange creature swam out of the large tube approaching me, before handing me what looked like a large, blubbery pelt from some strange animal. That's an encounter suit. You wear it to breach the alleyway safely, to protect yourself from the air, so that you can talk to us in person above the waters. This is an open offer with no time limit. I'd like to thank you in person. Once you put that on, come back here so we can... The human stopped speaking as I began to don the strange attire quickly and without question. I guess I'll dispatch a sub to your location shortly. I was finally going to see the world beyond the alleyway. I was finally going to live the dreams of my childhood. I was finally going to accomplish what tens of thousands of more could never dream of. And all this was possible because I tried to drown a human. I just hope he won't return me the favor when I do meet him above the waves. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Everything I use is in the description below. If you have a story you'd like to hear narrated, please let me know and I'll contact the author and we'll see if we can make that happen. Thanks again for watching. It's a scary world out there, but remember to look up and seek the stars.